I think the first item of business would be, congratulating Randy Gradishar, becoming a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That we just had a chance to introduce him to our team and kind of read through his statistics, years played, never missing a game. It's pretty remarkable. So congratulations to him and his family and those teammates that were a part of a lot of great defenses and certainly real good teams later in his career. We'll have a lot of film to cover, obviously. I thought overall, again, I'm on half the field. We got 2 real good special team periods done, and then quite a bit of teamwork with a 7-on-7, finished with a 2-minute drill. I would say, I don't want to guess how many plays, but a lot of plays run in a pretty short period of time. I thought both teams handled it really well, and we'll kind of go from there. Any questions?
What are you hoping to see on film?
Well, it's not what I'm hoping to see on film today. It's what I'm hoping to see tomorrow, then the corrections. I thought on the offensive field where I was, we had too many false starts. I thought we tired pretty quickly. They were going a lot of plays relative to maybe what they're used to and even more than a real game would present. But I think it's good from a conditioning standpoint. Mentally, there's some mental toughness that's required to play, poise, all those things required to not to play, but to play well and to win. And so those challenges, kind of came up a little bit. We'll watch those on tape, and then the key is, making the corrections and then, hopefully not having to see the same mistake from the same player again.
Sean, you've done a lot of these. What do you like about it?
I've done a lot only because I've coached a long time. My early years, or our early years in New Orleans, we had a number with Houston because we were close. There's some cities, logistically, when you're out west, there's a handful of teams you typically get used to playing in the preseason that limit your travel. Houston was that for us in New Orleans because that was an easy trip. And then a number of years with New England. I'd say we probably had 5, both at home and in New England. And then eventually we came to LA quite a bit to get out of the heat. So when we did it with the Chargers, it was always us coming to them. They did it last week just to get a break from the humidity. What do we like? Well, you get different looks. So you get used to your own team, your own defense, your own offense, and you get a whole new set of formations, defensive fronts. Obviously, you get a whole new set of players that do things differently. So, in a game, you're going to get things that maybe you haven't covered. And today I'm sure we're going to look at plays, both sides of the ball, that we haven't seen because either our offense doesn't run them or our defense doesn't play it. But I think that variety is important. And then it also allows you, these are huge reps for so many players that are competing for roster spots. So these practice snaps are invaluable. This would be like a preseason game, really, when you look at the snaps.
It looked like Albert Oakley had some moments certainly against San Francisco, and then today, is he making progress in that?
He has. I thought he had a good week last week. He had one of his better weeks, so hopefully we can continue that trend.
Everybody has their own kind of spin on practice. So with working with Sean McVay, what have you kind of found that you guys kind of see the same way on practice?
This was our first practice together. I've known Sean for a long time. We've got probably 5, Miami of Ohio. Sean graduated from there. He's got a few assistant coaches. Our strength coach, Dan Dalrymple's from there. So pretty good contingent from that school. I don't know. I think, look, there's a respect as to, a program that's won. Sean's won at a high level. And, I think that it made a lot of sense when you looked at the schedule and you saw that we were playing each other for the 3rd preseason game. And then there's some arrangement like, hey, if we get this game, do we want to have a joint practice? And it also made sense from an ownership perspective because both ownership groups are pretty close. And So it worked out really well.
When you were growing up, how much did you know about Reed in that orange crush defense?
I remember because, listen, he said, none of you remember this, and I was thinking, be careful. You know, it was all during the 70s, and you can never forget a name like Gradishar. And you guys probably don't remember, but at 7-Eleven used to give you Slurpees, and they'd be in these 7-Eleven NFL Slurpee cups. And then you'd collect them. You know, you'd have Alan Page and Gradishar, and you'd have a stack in your room, and then they were so sticky, your mom would just throw them away someday and wouldn't tell you. But yeah, I can remember those defenses very well. And you know, it's interesting because that's a time frame where we can only watch what we were given. You know, we were given whatever ABC or CBS put on, and then the only way to catch up on what happened on the weekend, you had to wait till halftime of Monday Night Football. That's kind of amazing, really. So in order to find out about all the other games that were played, you had to watch that like 8-minute Monday Night Football halftime segment to get the highlights. So clearly, it's a lot different now with our ability to watch any game we want. We get the highlights like right away. But yeah, you can't lose track of a name like, you know, Gradishar, and you had Atwater, and I remember those teams. As a young fan, I was an old 49ers fan, which was John Brody and Ted Qualick, Gene Washington. Those, I'm dating myself now. Those were a different generation of players, but it's great to see him. And I made sure the players clapped when I introduced him before I told the players that he's also the sideline equipment check guy that's responsible for any fines. So it was good for the players to schmooze up to him a little bit today. Tough, smart. Yeah, tough, smart. You know, he's played a lot of football. It's not always pretty, but there is this quality of, you know, he gets the job done. And I said this at the beginning of camp. After the draft, I thought we did a good job in that 2-hour period of signing free agents. Sometimes offensive linemen are hard to, you know, they're hard to get, and we were able to sign a pretty good class of undrafted offensive linemen that I think has helped us and will help us not only this year but in the future. I'm encouraged.
Sean, you talked about Riley Dixon punting really well in practice and then just kind of needing to carry that over the game. What would you
Well, he carried it over well the other night in the game, and so the anomaly, I mean, the outsider would be just the first game in Arizona, but he punted well again today. He's a good athlete, you know, and we're glad we have him.
Talk a lot about the right 53. When you talk to your players about that, how do you sort of communicate?
I kind of use, I mean, look, there's got to be a vision. The special teams come into play. The right type of player, teammate, all those things matter when you're building a program. And I think, look, everyone, right this time of the year with, you know, call it a week before the final cut downs, everyone understands what's at stake, you know, the players as well as the coaches and front office people. So all these snaps are important.
You talked about,
Yeah.
you talked about the Eagles push quarterback sneak before, and you're interested in that play. And I'm wondering specifically with Russell, is he interested in that play? I think the most he's ever done a quarterback sneak in his career in one season is 7 times with Seattle. So I wonder, like,
Yeah.
have you talked about that? What's his
We have. No, and look, I'm sure he's comfortable. Yeah, I know he is comfortable with running quarterback sneaks. And we talked about it offensively when we were going through short yardage. We talked about, you know, how much do we want to dive into that and study it. You don't get a lot of chances to replicate it and practice it. I think it's something that we can build on when the season starts. And you know, we'll have a short yardage package, things that we feel like we can go to when it's 3rd and a yard, and you're really looking to run it, and everyone knows you're going to run it. I think the key is being efficient. I know Philadelphia was very efficient with that. I do think Russ is someone that's strong and athletic and has traits where he certainly, I think, could have success. The key would be, do we feel like it fits us right now? And I don't know that I could say, I mean, we've discussed it, but I don't know that I could say that, we're going to see a lot of it, but certainly we're going to discuss it more.
Coach, are drops more physical or mental when a player is struggling with drops? How do you
Well, look, they're probably a little bit of both. They come from fatigue, they come from concentration, and at some point they got to go away, or, it's periodically I've had really good receivers that might drop a pass early in a game and then you wouldn't see it again. Marcus Colston, once in a blue moon, would have an early drop, and then he'd always exit the sideline like wherever I wasn't. But then he'd come back and, catch 15 balls or 12 balls. And so there were a few out there today, a handful of different players. That's something that, look, if your job is a receiver, you're paid to catch. And it's pretty simple.
When players, when there's a drop, how important do you feel it is for the quarterback to get the ball back in their hands soon and get?
Yeah, but it has to happen like kind of organically. It has to happen within the framework of what you're doing. Sometimes it could be the following pass pattern, that player's open and that's where you're going. Sometimes it might take a minute. So now getting players started is easier to do when you're calling plays in the script, trying to get players off to a good start. There were the number of players I've coached that it was important for us as a team to get them a handful of touches early to get them active in the game. And I'm sure that'll be the case here as we get to know these guys and we start putting together opening scripts for games. Yeah, briefly, and I talked with George this morning, and I think just it gives us some additional depth heading into this preseason game, so I'm glad he's here.
What were your impressions of Mike McVay first practice?
Well, I'm anxious to look at the tape. It's good to have him back out there. You feel his presence in the huddle from a leadership perspective. Just being field level, it's not like I had a chance to just look at him. Typically speaking, if you don't notice, a tackle, sometimes that's pretty good. But I know that we're better when he's out there, and you felt his presence just in the team drills.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.